When did you start at Family First Life, and was that the beginning of your insurance career?
February 2018 was the first month I sold a policy. It was a Foresters policy for $800 a year. And that was realistically probably my 6th month in the insurance business of actual selling. I think I really only sold my first policy ever in, August of 2017. And I was not doing very good.
So you've been in insurance for a while. What made you make the move from where you were to Family First Life?
There was this gentleman named Sean Ruggiero that worked at Family First Life at the time, and he still works here now. I had really begun an interest in the advanced markets like IULs and annuities, and there was nobody at my practice company that was able to help me get better. You guys have all heard the saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, find a bigger room. I don't necessarily think that applied to me. I don't think I was the smartest, but when it came to the opposite of that statement is like, if you're the hardest worker in the room, find a bigger gym, find a place with more hard workers. And I noticed Sean Ruggiero had been working really hard to grow an advanced markets division. And that's what really got my interest going. Now, obviously the comp, I was selling policies with Mutual Omaha for a practice company where if I sold it at Family First Life, I would have been getting paid 35% more. So it came down to the brass taxes of it. Sean Mike says everyone will come work for FFL because everyone knows how to use a calculator. And that's what ultimately made the quick decision for me. I know how to use a calculator. I know my numbers 1 through 10. And I know how to do that multiplies in the percentage part of a calculator. Like you don't need Texas Instruments for that. The iPhone, I know it's $1,000. The Texas Instruments calculator is about 300, and the iPhone will do a lot more, but the math is the same. So
100%. So you unlike other people were looking for somebody to push you more, for an opportunity to grow more than what was currently being offered.
most certainly.
Okay. So you wrote your first policy February of 18. What did you issue in 18?
$652,000 issue paid life insurance premium.
So you started in October somewhere else, came here in the following February, in your first full year in the business, $600,000.
100. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So what do you think that you could have wrote that same 600 at your previous company in their first year?
No, I don't think so. I don't think our lead strategy, I don't think the company's training would have got me to where I was. What translated was my work ethic. I knew I was dumb. There's this phrase, there's this thing out there. I don't know where I picked it up from, but like you go through these stages of learning a business, and there's the first one is unconsciously incompetent. And if you break down what that means, I'm unconsciously aware of my incompetence in a task. It could be selling. You literally, that means you don't know how bad you are at something, right? But that's the first step of anything. I'm unconsciously incompetent. And then you can very quickly go right to the next stage, which is consciously incompetent. I'm aware how much I suck. It's okay to suck, but you got to be aware that you do suck. And I was consciously incompetent when I came here at FFL, and I knew I wanted to succeed quickly. I had made some big boy decisions. I had made some big boy purchases where I had big boy bills. So I knew I had to make up for my lack of knowledge with sweat equity and hard work. So I filled my schedule with more hours than my competition. Now, I didn't view my family at Family First Life as direct competition, but when it came to the leaderboards and hustling and working hard and protecting families, yeah, they kind of were my competition, friendly competition. So I knew if I was going to be one of the dumber guys in my agency, I knew I had to be one of the hardest working, if not the hardest working in my agency. That's how I paid that premium. It wasn't because I became really smart. It wasn't because I only focused on advanced markets. It wasn't because I had rich friends and family. It was because I was willing to put in more hours working than a lot of the other people in the agency. So that's consciously incompetent. Then after that, I became consciously competent, where I'm aware that I was good, but I had to think about it. I had to consciously in the home, be consciously thinking about my closing techniques. I had to consciously at the forefront of my thought process, I had to go, okay, this is what you say next to get that objection parked in the parking lot and go into the next part of the presentation. And then the final stage is unconsciously competent, where you can turn your brain off. second nature takes over and you can flow right through an in-home presentation with your eyes closed, much like you do, Wayne. You go into a home and it's like clockwork. You're saying the same thing. You can do it easy. What I always say on my team is like, if I get in the in-home, if I get in the home, the rest is history. It's done deal. Wham, bam, thank you, man. So that's just those little nuggets there. But that's how I got to that point where I was using my sweat equity to make myself get to the part where I was unconsciously competent, where it was just so easy to do the job.
So you talk about using your sweat equity to take you from unconsciously incompetent to consciously competent. What are some of the things that you plugged into along the way? And what did that schedule look like for you in your first year of insurance? Again, I still haven't written 600 plus, but in your first full year of insurance, what did that look like for you training wise, day in and day out? Just walk us through a day in the life of 2018 Spencer.
Dude, this is a very good question. And like, if you were going to write down anything from this call that I say, I think this is hands down the most important. Y'all have heard of IPAs before, right? That's like a beer or whatever. I don't drink, so it's not an issue. An IPA to me is an income producing activity. What activity can I do that immediately yields an income? Okay. I can only think of two in this business: dials and running appointments. And you could probably break down dials and argue it, but what I did for my schedule of 2018, I made sure that during business hours, I was only focusing on IPAs, income producing activities. If it doesn't directly put me in a position to generate an income, I don't want to do it. And so what I did was I made sure my 12 hours of the day, 7 or 6 days a week, most of the time, I was only doing things that generated money, because those were the working hours till 9 p.m., about 8:30, 8 o'clock in the morning when I started dialing at that time. What I think made me better quicker was what I did outside of IPA hours. At 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, 11:30 at night, I was learning. We didn't have what we have nowadays with all these boot camps, and these one website has all the agent materials for Transamerica, Foresters, all in the same place. It's like, dude, I had to literally go to each website. I had to become very good at looking up underwriting guidelines, so efficient that way in the home. When clients said that they did have a medication or a condition that I wasn't familiar with, I knew how to go right to the website and know exactly which buttons to click to get me the underwriting guide for that product. And I got so good at that outside of my income producing hours. That way, when it came time to shine, I had my cleats on, my shin guards were in, my socks were pulled up tight, and I was ready to perform in that home because I practiced it when it wasn't going to cost me any money to practice it. So I spent hours of my time outside of IPA hours educating myself on the products, learning more about closing techniques, reading books like Paychecks and Playchecks by Tom Hegna, subscribing to websites like Investopedia.com, getting newsletters from them, learning insurance terms, learning insurance jargon, learning more about what it is I'm telling people I do, because I didn't know what I was doing for the first couple months in the business. All I knew was I knew how to dial the phone, I knew how to be likable in the home, and I knew how to put a product in front of somebody that, based off my analysis, they could probably afford. Life insurance does the rest. If you die, it pays off. But I spent on the West Coast, I would wake up at 6 a.m. and I would call carriers and do all my back office work until 8 o'clock when I could dial. I then dialed the rest of the day. And I mean the rest of the day. Setting 15 or 20 appointments was pretty typical for me, because all I did was dial with no distractions. And then I ran those appointments the following days. Same thing, back to back. And then late at night, I would draw up illustrations. I would read Transamerica's underwriting guides, like boring stuff, but I wanted to get better quicker. And that's what I did. And that's what my schedule looked like. It was pretty much, I would go on 21-day working sprints where I wouldn't take any days off. I would commit myself to 21 days of either a dial or in the field at the time. And I don't mean like 1 or 2 appointments. I mean, like, if I'm going to the field Sunday, the last appointment I'll probably book on a some days is probably like a 5:30, just because like I need to rest, but I was not taking a break. Now, after the end of 21 days, Wayne, I would issue pay 40 or 50 grand. Yeah. So that next week, I would take 1 week off from the field, 1 week off from dials. But guess what I did? I was doing all my policy pending. I was doing all my IUL illustrations. I was doing my annuity education. I was doing those things that allowed me to get better. So that way the following week when I went in the field, it was amazing. And I would do this like little 5-week cycle. So, I mean, my highest issue paid doing that in a month was like $96,000, but I just didn't stop. I didn't give up. I was working extra, and that's just what I had to do to get better. And I'm dumber than a lot of people. Like if you guys listen to Joe Rogan, he'll go be like, hey guys, I'm just a juiced up Guido moron. Like that's what Joe Rogan says. That's kind of how I feel. Like I'm just a dude. Like I was a bartender. I worked as a VIP manager at a nightclub, and I sold motorcycles to rich doctors. Like, what do I actually know? I didn't go to university. I didn't get amazing grades in high school. So I just had to do that. So sorry to go on the long route, but it's like, dude, you gotta work. You gotta work.
No, dude, that was invaluable. And I mean, I did a lot of the same things after hours while Hudson was a newborn at the time, washing bottles, listening to Matt Smith and Sean Ruggiero talk about creating this arbitrage of your money growing faster in the IUL than it's costing you in the mortgage, and so on and so forth. But I'm right there with you. I've never heard it put that way, but if you're going to binge something, forget about Netflix and your episodes on Hulu. Binge FFL training because it will make you rich.
Yeah.
In a hurry.
Yeah. Well, dude, let me add on to that. Let me add on to the FFL training.
By all means.
All right, dude. I just want to be real with you guys, right? I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, everything's so great, right? Or whatever, right? Okay, sometimes, Wayne, you get on this 1 hour long YouTube of an interaction between Andrew Taylor and a guy that just did $37,000 that month, right? Now, you might be thinking to yourself, like, all right, I'm going to watch this. Andrew Taylor is always good to listen to. This guy, this $37,000 a month guy, like, I've never necessarily hit that goal, but he's brand new. What the heck? Like, how, I'm doing the same job, blah, blah, blah. I've come to realize that on these calls, more often than not, you'll listen to it for like 60 minutes. What's most important, though, is the 1, 2, or 3 things that are like hits you like a light bulb and you go, damn. You're not going to sit on a 60-minute phone call and be like, oh my God, my life has changed. Like, this is incredible. I've come to Christ. Like, it's not like a church service where you did commit your life to Christ. This is more like you're just waiting, you're listening. The last call I was on 2 nights ago was I was cooking dinner and I had to stop cooking dinner. I took the food off the heat because I heard one thing that I knew was going to change my business. And I went to the side, I wrote it down in my iPhone, and then I went back and put the dinner back on the heat because it was like, dude, you're not going to write down everything you hear in these phone calls, but you got to keep your ears peeled because you're going to find 2 or 3 things that are golden for your business. Then check this out. After months of listening to all these trainings and podcasts, and you have this customized cocktail of things that'll help your business, you put that shit in your blender, you drink that shit every single dial day, and you fill yourself with that wisdom that you've extracted, that you've determined is going to help you.
Man, I feel like you just took us to church. To be honest, and that, I mean, that custom cocktail, I tell everybody, and again, I've never heard it put that way, but we tell everybody to listen to these trainings and kind of find a trainer that you like or a couple of people that you like and extract what you need to and just make it your own. And that's how you find yourself at FFL. But I'm definitely going to start talking about binge drinking and cocktails for the rest of my career at FFL now.
I call it a protein shake because I don't do alcohol. Like I would call it a protein shake. But like, dude, like here's the thing, like Nicholas and Nehemiah are at different spaces in the business. They both need different things that are going to help them. So Nicholas needs to listen to the same training that Nehemiah listens to, but they're going to have 2 major takeaways. Are either of them wrong? No. Are they both right? Because they're ingesting information that's going to help them with their business, where they're at. You bet your sweet tush.
Yeah. No, that's true. And I'm gonna ask this question just because I know you and I know what it's done for me. Just talking to you and listening to you, and I know what you've done in the advanced market space. So I just want you to briefly, in the next 7 to 10 minutes, walk us through how you've gone from bartender to making that annuity sale extremely efficient and simple so that 90% of the people that you sit with, that you present it to, just say yes.
Good question. It took time. I went into 9 annuity presentations before I sold my first one. And one of them was $1 million and the other one was like a few $100,000. And I had to sit in front of people that were smarter than me. And I had to give them the opportunity to tell me no, for me to take that wound home and nurse the wound and recover from that battle scar, the battle being the in-home presentation on an advanced market product. I had to learn from that. Like we've all heard, if you're hiring new agents, if your team's growing, get a new agent to run their first 15 appointments, and then you're going to be able to help them because you're going to know where they're at, what they need to do, what they need to not do, etc. So honestly, dude, it came, some of those things I talked on earlier is like, dude, I listened to Sean Mike, and this was before we had the AMS call, before we had the AMS YouTube channel. It's like, dude, there's so many resources you guys can plug into here. I had to go across the internet and Google stuff. The moment you listen to a call from somebody who's making more money than you and they say something you don't know, pause the call, Google it. If you're reading a book and there's a term or a definition that you do not know, Google it. Stop, fold the corner over, enhance your wisdom. You're not going to read a book and be like, oh, they use this word. Because I know English and I read the rest of the sentence, I can assume the definition of that word. But you should see some of these books I've read. The very first time I bought a pencil in like 10 years was only like 3 years ago. I would take a pencil, I would underline the word that I had to Google. And if you would go through any of my books, you'd be like, you're an idiot, Spence. Like you had to Google that word. Like, come on. Like, but hey, I'm getting better for me. So I would write in the back, you know, where they have all like the author's notes or whatever. I would go to those pages and I'd write it down almost like they did in school, where you do the word, underline, the semicolon, adjective, pronoun, whatever it was, and then the definition. It's like, that is all it took for Spencer to learn. After I wrote it, I didn't have to go study the back of the page of a book when I was done with it, although it was good refreshment. I would read books like from Tom Hegna. Tom Hegna is a guy that we've had. You guys got to read this stuff. Tom Hegna has YouTube pages after YouTube video explaining how annuities are good for the senior citizen, how a lot of senior citizens haven't been given the information that he talks about there. Investopedia is a great resource. That's at investopedia.com. There's another article called Barron's Report. Barron's Report, each year they do a top 50 annuity in the entire country, top 50 annuity products for income annuities, performance annuities, long-term care rider annuities, death benefit annuities. They do the top 50 in all categories. There's another resource, Wayne, that you might use called annuityratewatch.com. That's one you can subscribe to. I think it costs like $100 a month, but you can get access to all the annuities across the industry so you know what somebody has or doesn't have. That's that's not really for education. That's more for comparison products. But guys, how did I find all these things? It's not like I called up my upline and he was like, okay, well, you're going to do these 3 things, read these 4 books. No, I went on the internet and I read articles and op-eds and things that people wrote and said, hey, this helped me. Hi, I'm so-and-so from Massachusetts Life. I was the #1 IUL producer for all of 2015. And here I am, it's 2018. I'm in the business. I'm like, who's this old nut? And the guy was like 50 years old, but there was an article written on him and how he did over $19 million in issue paid IUL premiums in 1 year. 19 million. Like, you guys got to understand what I just said. $19 million in issue paid IULs in 1 year. Obviously, he wasn't buying instant internet leads. Obviously, there was a network he had worked up to, but he had been in the community for 30 years, guys. Who here wouldn't want to issue pay $19 million in 1 year? We're bowing down to Steven, dude, issue paying over $1 million. And these guys, Jonathan Porcina, it's like, bro, 19 million? Holy moly. So when you get to read an article from somebody that's that established, it's like, dude, turn your brain on, calm your ego, absorb the material, and take those 2 or 3 things out of that article that apply to you, where you're at in your business and what can help you win and grow a team and encourage and inspire others. Absorbing. What was that?
Go ahead. Finish that thought.
Yeah. Absorbing the material from people that are more intelligent than you, that work harder than you, is important. We have a very good bath of that information here at FFL, Andrew Taylor's, Paul McLean's, the list goes on. But guys, diversify your knowledge. Diversify where you find your information. Go to the internet, find good things that are out there. And that's how I fell across some of those things that have helped me in my business, because FFL is growing at an amazing rate. You can continue to get new people here, but if you're trying to take your business to the next level, open your eyes, look for other stuff, find it, bring it into FFL, and people start asking you, be like, dude, how'd you do that? I was like, dude, I hunted, I wanted it.
Yeah.
I didn't wait for it to come to me.
Now I'm going to ask you how you did it. I know they say you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. You teach him how to fish, he'll eat for the rest of his life. I feel like you just taught us how to fish. Now I want you to give us the fish. I want you to take us inside of the house to a Spencer Faggiano in-home, and specifically, because there's a million in-homes out there, but specifically that Advanced Markets in-home, how you make that transition and how you set up that next meeting. And for those people that don't know Advanced Markets, I'm asking him to take us through his annuity transition.
Well, there is, I do a really good job of this in a video that I did with Grady on YouTube. I'm going to dig it up and I'll put it in the chats here so you guys can save it and watch this after. Okay. But realistically, it starts from the beginning of the home. All right. I'm just wearing like a polo right now. When I ran business, or when I still do, I choose to dress the professional part. A lot of people here do the polos. So I kind of set the tone right away. Slacks, dress shoes, shirt tucked in, belt, dress shirt, no tie, no coat, unless it's freezing cold out and you live up north. But I really just try to set the tone right away, saying, hey, listen, I'm an educated man. I carry myself well. I have good posture, and I present myself professionally the moment we start talking. Now, oftentimes in Florida, that could be overdoing it, but it starts from the moment you walk to the front door, just carrying yourself appropriately, being confident. Then when you get into the in-home, who here uses the suitability worksheet? That's all. I mean, Wayne, all your guys use this sheet, right?
They all have access to it in Slack. That one in the variation that I kind of tweaked for myself, but yes, they all have access.
I'd like to pick your brain on the variation. I was just telling a guy this, and in the video I'm going to put in the link below, you're going to see really quick how I navigate through this in-home. I call it a dance, a story, a song. All right. You see these numbers on the side? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. That's the order that I do my in-home in, because it tells a story. I start off my in-home by asking them their name. What do you do? How old are you? What do you do for your occupation? The number one question that takes you into the advanced market conversation right after that starts right there. How long have you been doing that? So if you get a guy that's been a line worker or give me a career, Wayne, hairdresser,
construction worker.
Construction worker. All right, cool. You work for the union, or you just you work for a private company?
I work for a private company.
Awesome, man. How long you been there?
About 21 years.
Damn, that's a long time. So they got some good benefits, things like that you've been able to take advantage of?
Yeah.
Sweet. Good. All right. In the back of my mind, what I'm thinking right there, this guy's committed. He's a construction worker, which means he's probably making, if you've been there 21 years, you might be making 100 grand. There's plenty of those guys out there making good money in construction. Mm-hmm. But what I uncovered is he's been a long-term employee with this company, and he more than likely has a 401k or some sort of retirement plan that he's been contributing money to. That right there allows me the confidence later on in the in-home to ask him the golden question, what do you have that acts like life insurance in the event you pass away? I already know he's been with this company for 20 years. So later on, when I say, hey man, so you've been contributing to your 401k with that company for 20 years. When was the last time your advisor came? Who's managing that? Oh, I don't know, man. It's just the Edward Jones's, or more comments like Vanguard. It's who my boss set it up through. Wow. Fidelity. Okay. I already know the answer to this next question. When was the last time your Fidelity advisor came out and sat at this kitchen table and went over your retirement plan looks like? Oh, he's never done that. Damn, really? And then I kind of sit back and go, huh. You're getting those statements every month, right? Or every quarter. And they're like, yeah, they get mailed here. I was like, and I'm sure you're probably like I was when I first started, like, I don't know how to read those, right? Like they're gibberish. It's like Greek, right? And they go, yep. Okay. Yeah. So, hey, look, man, like you're obviously been there for 20 plus years. You're in your mid 50s. I think it's important to start saying like, dude, we need to look at your glide strategy. How are you going to glide through retirement? You're getting very close to this very first, most important chapter of your retirement. And nobody's actually sat down with you and asked you what your goals are. My job is not to come sit here and tell you what to do with your money, how to manage your retirement, things like that. I'd rather just learn more about you, the kind of way I am now. What do you want to accomplish in your retirement? Do you want a boat? Do you want to be able to just travel? Do you just want to be there for Christmas? Do you want to give the grandkids the life you couldn't give that you weren't given? I don't know. But you start asking these questions, but this guy's already worked for this company for 20 years. So that's like the first section there. Like you can find out all this information in the very beginning of your in-home. Now, granted, do you dive into those conversation topics? No, but I know that he works there for 20 years. Wayne, what does your wife do?
She stays at home now.
Okay, so your wife's the homemaker, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. That's the hardest job in the home. In 2015, U.S. Business Weekly and Harvard did a study saying if they were to replace the homemaker of 2 children, it would cost $66,000 of additional income to outsource all the jobs that your wife does. So what's your wife's name? At this point, I'd look at the wife and I'd be like, damn, Paula, we cannot replace you. And then we're laughing and everyone's like, yeah. I was like, damn, you got a hard job. My mom had 4 boys and I wasn't easy. I can only imagine, you know? Small rapport builders right there is my personality. That's how I work on it. But you guys remember, it's like, if Wayne, you're 21 years old, you're single, you're at a bar. Do you walk up to a girl and say, hey, what do you do for your work? No, you get them their name. You ask them what they're doing there. You start that conversation. And very quickly, within the first minute or two, you're like, hey, what do you do for work? Like, what do you do? You're going to get that, but it's not the opener. The same way you shouldn't go into the in-home and start working the sheet and go, all right, do you guys live or rent? Do you guys own or rent? All right, how much is it? 30-year loan, refi or purchase? Okay, how much equity you got in your home? Okay, are you guys doing anything extra? Okay, what do you do for work? No, dude, be real. Talk to the way that you'd want to be talked to. You want to be approached at the fair, the job, a job interview, the bar, whatever. Then you see this, 1, 2, I know about their finances. I know about their income. I know about their career. Wayne, the most important thing I've extracted from this is the moment I know what you do. If you're a construction worker, I'm most certainly going to conduct myself in a different manner than if you were a banker. They're 2 different walks of life. When you're an advisor, you got to become a chameleon, become your client in the home, guys. Be who they are. Now, I'm not saying put a lip a dip in, start spitting into a spittoon at the bottom of the table just because this guy's doing it. Don't do that stupid stuff. Conduct yourself professionally, but you can't start using all these big words and act like some big fancy banker and financial guy if the guy's a construction worker. It just wouldn't make sense. That's how you get the guy to say like, listen, we don't want to do business with you. You're selling yourself. You're not selling the insurance product. Everyone knows how the insurance works. You're finding something for their budget, but you're really getting them to believe that you're going to be their agent for life. So when you do that right away, you know how to conduct yourself based off of their profession, their career, who they are. Then you find out their information here. And then I say this is my transition line to go from 2 to 3, which 3 is all the way down here. And the 3 is right next to who is your beneficiary. Now I say, guys, listen, I'm going to fast track this. I'm going to get right to the point. When you guys filled this form out, you probably had somebody in mind that you would want it to be the beneficiary of this money if you passed away. Now, obviously, you guys are husband and wife. God forbid, Wayne, you die. Your wife, Paula, is going to get the money. Is that right? Yes. Okay. So God forbid, though, God forbid a freak accident were to occur and both of you were taken from this yesterday. Who's going to be the person you're passing this home on to? And then now what I just did was I suggested the freak accident. So I've really lined myself up to put an accidental death benefit, whole accidental death policy in place just by saying that. Whether you go guaranteed advantage for Mutual of Omaha or you do an increased accidental rider on any of the policies that we do sell, I just got that nugget out there. I got them thinking, because Wayne, how old are you?
47.
Dude, you and I could both agree if you're going to die in the next 20 years, it'd probably be just from a freak accident. You're a healthy guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So let's make sure that God forbid that freak accident occur, you getting a bunch of money to come pay off the house and replace your income for many years. So I'm getting that nugget placed in just by skipping down to the beneficiary. And then now I'm getting their why. Like their why, I'm starting to be like, all right, wow. So I totally understand why if God forbid something happened to you guys, your kids are teens, you'd have to give the money to your brother so he can take care of the kids. You don't want them wearing the same pair of shoes for 3 years, do you? They'll get teased at school for that. wearing the same pair of shoes for 3 years? I know because I've been that kid. I got older brothers. I wore their shoes. Make a joke, do whatever. So at that point, then you got the most important part out of the way. That number 3, you found out their beneficiary. All right, guys, now let's transition into number 4. This is where you ask them all the medical, health, all that. Now you do all their medical underwriting, guys. Okay. So then you go through that. Section 5, right under it. This is the golden question. What do you guys that have that acts like life insurance if you were to pass away? Something like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs, substantial savings, any sort of big accounts, money under the mattress. What do you guys have that would be passed on to your wife if you passed away, Wayne? And they're going to tell you because you've gained their trust by learning about them, learning about their kids, learning about what's important to them, all before you get to the big money questions. So that's kind of how I conduct it. Part number 6 at the very end, I put down at the bottom. That's really just where it says, hey, we can't decide right now, but if we were to qualify, which option would be most affordable to you, comfortable to you? Realistically, number 6 is your price options, your quotes, your information. Now, before I ever show a single person a single price, ever, double ever, I get their driver's licenses. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start looking at this stuff. Let me go ahead and get your driver's license so I can get that taken care of. I take their driver's license and I put it so far out of reach of them that it'd be awkward if they leaned across the table and were like, let me get my driver's license. You have their driver's license. They can't get up. They can't leave. They know you have it. And you're going to hang on to it until you've done your full presentation. Because the impotence from your opener, which we'll go into some other time, is that we're setting an application into an insurance company today. So when you give you your driver's license, before you've even looked up prices, before you've even explained the product, you have it. That way, when you do present the prices, after you've explained the kind of product that you're recommending to them, whether it's whole life or final expense, you're going to pass the paper to them with the price on it and say, hey, listen, this is how you explain each option. You pass it over to them. Now, while you guys are looking at that, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the paperwork. So that way we stay on time. I got other families to see. Boom. And then you put your head down and start entering in all your application information. Do one at a time, then start the next one. And then until they start, the person that speaks first after that is the person who loses. I will literally not say a word for like 10 minutes until they've literally gone, all right, we want to think about it, or whatever they say, whatever objection, or hey, this makes sense. Like, that's just the way I do it. It's the way it's been working. That's what got me to 650 something thousand. The next year I did over 500,000 after that. It's like I've consecutively been able to do this, and I haven't changed my in-home ever in the last like 2.5 years. It starts the same way. It finishes the same way. I've only gotten faster at it, but speed isn't always the trick. I think it's really more like building the value in the home. But asking the whole question that got me onto that was Wayne saying, all right, give us the fish. Tell me how to get that advanced market opportunity. I think a lot of it comes down to learning about the client the appropriate way, letting the story sing itself, dance that dance with the client. Takes 2 to tango, finding out their information. And somewhere in there, like, damn, man, you're 58. Like, what's your retirement plan? Like, you've been working for this company for 25 years. You've been working up that nest egg. When do you and your wife plan on really retiring? Oftentimes you get people go, oh, I don't know, man, work till I die. I go, yeah, I know. You're like my dad. You remind me of my father. Workaholic, man, not workaholic, but he's a hard worker. I respect that. But at some point, you're going to want to slow down a little bit, right? You want to enjoy yourself, enjoy the grandkids. Yeah. All right. What do you want your retirement to look like? Do you want to have to keep working? Would you like to know of an option? You start talking to them about it and you get them to tell you what they want out of their retirement. And then at any point you go, hey, listen, that's awesome. I understand nobody's been able to come out and sit down with you to show you what your retirement would look like, or at least ask you these questions. But hey, I have a lot of products that we can probably help you accomplish what you want out of your retirement. Would you be opposed to me coming out and saying, hey, listen, this could work for you. This could set you up for that retirement you want. They're always going to say yes at that point. So now you're setting up that second appointment to go back into the home. You got the statements. You're going to go sit with them and show them how an annuity or an IUL or whatever their situation would call for would work. But again, this is advanced market stuff. You got to plug into the training and the learning to get there. But I assure you, there's money being left on the table. And that's how I started getting into advanced markets. I was tired of leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars in 401ks. We all have the same license to sell annuities. Why are we not selling annuities when the opportunity comes up? I don't know.
All right. I don't really have anything to expand on. So if you have a few minutes, I'm just going to open it to questions. I mean, that was pretty bulletproof. I don't want to muddy the waters. So if you have a couple of minutes, we'll take a few questions
Absolutely.
until 1:30, and then we'll let you get back to it. And for those of you that ask, I'll post that the outline of his in-home structure, how he bounces around. I'll post it in Slack on the in-home channel as
I
soon
got
as we're
one
finished.
better for you, dude. I have an entire YouTube video that goes over what I just went over, but I want to do a
Okay.
very personalized thing for you guys. So um, I'll text you a picture of this so you can see it. But yeah, I can post that video. Guys, no question's a dumb question. Ask me it because somebody else probably has the same question. They need to hear it.
Fire when ready.
Spencer, I'm curious. I thought your lead into the advanced markets are really great. What do you do with the person on disability has got like $900 a month? How do you get them to buy in?
Great question, because honestly, that's what I get more of than advanced market stuff. It's fun to talk about what I've made a name for this business, but guys, let's be real. Most of these people we're meeting on Internet Life Leads are low income. They are the ones we're making a majority of our money from. Good question. Really, at that point, dude, you need to make them feel so comfortable that you're looking out for them and their finances and their budget. If they're making $900 a month on disability and their spouse might be making, I don't know, right around the same amount, I pretty much have a much shorter version of the in-home. Guys, I'm going to stop you right here. Can I be totally blunt and honest with you? They go, yeah. All right. Your guys' situation is very fragile. And I seriously am not going to proceed and recommend something that is going to make your budget even more fragile. It is only effective what we do here today if I find something that fits into your finances, so that way when you die, she's got money. And when you die, he's not wondering, how do I pay for my bills? Does that make sense? Yeah. You got to be so blunt, so direct with somebody that's at that income level. Does that make sense, Leah? Okay. Once you've done that, you've gained a little bit of trust by saying, let me be very blunt. They're going to appreciate that. Listen, I can't leave this house knowing that you might not be able to afford groceries next month. So I need you guys to let me know, before I came here today, what did you guys discuss that you'd be able to allocate? How many monies a week can you put away towards a life insurance plan? A Big Mac? 4 Big Macs? Like how many monies? And sometimes I say it like that. How many monies did you guys say that you would be able to allocate towards making sure you're okay? Because, dude, they're 900 monies a month. It's like, that's hard. You know, you guys out here making $900 a policy. So talk to them. Don't treat them stupid, but speak at their level. Guys, listen, I can't move forward until you guys can tell me exactly what this budget needs to be. They tell you $50, find them one for 56. They tell you $75, get them at something that's 83. You tell them, they say, hey, under 100, you get them in the 90s. Hey, listen, I don't want to flex that budget. 90s is under that $100 you guys told me, but tell you what, I need you guys to look at me right now and tell me if it needs to be in that $80 price range. And here's why. I tell all my clients the same thing. It's more important you start with something you can afford today, but what I'm about to tell you is important too. You need to know that you own your policy and you can increase it to anything at any time later on, should your finances change. Instead of getting that person right on that threshold of what they said they could afford, now you're talking them down into that policy, into that $80, but now they're going, holy shit, Wayne is looking out for me. He doesn't want me to stretch my budget. He wants me to find something I can afford. And now he reassured me that I can get more later. The reason I started doing that is because I don't like chargebacks. I want policies that stick. I want policies that stay on the books. Now, am I going to talk them down and be like, all right, let's get a $60 a month policy? No. If they can spend $100, let's find right at that threshold what they can. But if you're getting that vibe because they only make $900 a month, that it needs to be lower, you need to do a $900 a month person needs to be in like the $30 or $40 price range a month. So you need to really go hit them blunt, be direct, say, listen, you guys are on a very fragile income. I need to be very respectful of your guys' household. I'm not going to recommend something that prevents you from buying groceries next week. What is that dollar amount that you and your wife discussed before I arrived today of what it would be? And then they go, oh man, we didn't talk about it. We didn't know. We didn't think about that before you came. All right, perfect. I need to start looking up the options. Talk about it right now. And then you put your head down. and then you just start poking around on your computer. You could be checking the team Slack group. You could be messaging back agents that are asking questions. It don't matter what you're doing, but you just gave them the control of the floor and be like, all right, talk about it right now. You're always going to get, they'll talk about it right then and there, right in front of you. Oh, well, what do you think? Well, I don't know. I mean, we need it, but we really can't spend that much. All right, $40. Yeah, let's do that. And now you just got it out there. And that's how to answer that situation, Leah, on a lower income situation, lower income home, instant internet, Facebook leads. That's the money move, I would say. Next question. Let's go. Kedlin, you got a question. I know you do. Ask me a question.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I love the annuity chat talk, and I really heard a lot of what you said. You know, I'm a new agent. I'm working on an IUL with a client. I saw him on Tuesday, and you know, Wayne's been helping me. I'm super thankful for that. You know, I heard what you said about like going through your first 7 annuities and, you know, just not doing anything. And that's fine. I just really do want to help this person if I can. And I just feel like my incompetence in like my way of showing value for the product is hindering me. And, you know, I left the appointment the other day and he texts me, he's like, thank you so much. And he's showing me a screenshot for like a $500,000 policy for $70 a month, where I showed him a $2 million IUL where he was looking for maybe $5 million. He had a policy that lapsed last year, about $5 million. And, you know, he couldn't tell me how much his previous policy was. And, you know, I did meet him at his office. I understand that I shouldn't do that because he has to speak to his spouse about it. So I'm really trying to meet with him again next week and with his wife, preferably. And I don't know, I'm just feeling like if you can speak to that in any way. I know it's, you know, I'm giving a lot of like, it's just my experience. And I just really obviously want.
That's good because that's relatable. You're not the only person that has gone on a cheap lead, $11 lead, a Facebook lead, and you met somebody, they're like, damn, this guy makes more money than most of the people. Let me guess, he's a higher income earner, makes over 100 grand a year?
He's making 50 to 60K a month. He has his own business.
Outstanding. So this guy's needed $5 or $10 million of coverage in the past. And now he's sending you a screenshot where he's saying like, dude, my money's valuable to me, $75 for $500,000. He sends you a screenshot. He basically saying, hey, this is more what I'm thinking, without saying that. Now you saw him as a person that made a lot of money. And I think it's important to address this. I always tell people when I'm in a situation where the people are more wealthy than most of the people we meet with, I say this line. Wayne, there's 2 types of people that buy life insurance, okay? The first one are the husband and wife, where the husband makes $2,000 a month, the wife makes $1,000. If either one of them dies, they're only going to be making $2,000 a month because the Social Security is all they're living on. Those people cannot imagine a life without an insurance policy that would give them money to replace their spouse's income for a certain amount of time should they pass away. Now, I don't think that's you guys, but the second part, the second group of people that buy life insurance are people that are financially wealthy and they understand how to leverage cash flow they're not utilizing to enhance the value of their future loved one's life through the gift of a life insurance policy, whether that goes to replace income, pay off unsecured debt like a loan or a mortgage. And that's where you guys are. Now it comes down to you guys are just like me in the sense that I want my money to do the most for me it can in any situation, but we need to find what makes sense for you guys today. And I think the overall need is that you had this other policy that covered that death benefit. Why did you have so much life insurance before? And he's going to say, well, I had kids, or I started the business, or I had a home and all this. Perfect. Your insurance needs have changed though now. And since you are a person that definitely can probably be okay with your assets without the insurance, you know that the insurance would prolong your family or your wife or your kids dipping into those assets or selling off stocks or selling a portion of the business or liquidating assets just to be able to protect the home and the things they need the money for. So if we look at leveraging a portion of your income to get some death benefit, what portion of your income have you thought about before I got here saying, hey, I'd be willing to allocate this portion of my finances to enhance my family situation, to increase the value, to diversify our protection or asset strategies, to diversify our, I always say, like, dude, you got a life vest on, right? You've got 3 buckles already. You got the business, the assets of the home, your substantial savings, your 401ks. This 4th buckle, that's life insurance. And you guys are like a lot of the other higher income net worth families that utilize a life insurance plan, because it's a tax-free money that's going to prevent you from dipping into those other resources. And now you're arising to that. That's why I say, like, when you reading these documents on Investopedia, Barron's Report, Tom Hegna, listening to these YouTubes, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you're going to start learning the lingo that a guy that's making 50 grand a month knows how to conversate with. The guy that makes 50 grand a month ain't hanging out with people that make 7 grand a month. I just promise you, I'm sorry. He's hanging out with people that are as rich as him or richer, just straight up. So it sounds like in your situation, you may have gotten excited. You may have been like, an IUL, an IUL, an IUL, you can make so much money, but you didn't really know enough how to enhance, to share with this man how it would work for him. This guy's looking for death benefit. He's not looking for investment. He's probably over the age of 55 would be my guess. Okay. He's probably relatively healthy.
Yeah, he's healthy. He's 65. So yeah.
Yeah. An IUL for people at that age, you'd have to have he'd have to be making a lot of money with not a lot of money going out for it to make sense. And I would probably recommend he would just do a 10 pay on an IUL where he only pays into it for 10 years. After 10 years, by the time he's 75, that expense goes away. But he would want to be spending like $3,000 to $6,000 a month into that IUL in order for it to be effective on a 10-year, 10 pay situation. And it wouldn't be necessarily for cash accumulation, because the cost of insurance increases every year inside of a universal life policy, whether it's illustrated in the actual premiums going up or not. It on the back end, the cost of the insurance continues to rise, and it traditionally comes out of the cash value of the policy. So if you look at an illustrations list, by the time this specific guy is like 78 or 82, the cash value you're going to see is probably going to start slowly going down. And that's what's protecting the policy from lapsing, is the cash value that has accumulated. You're not going to share with this guy, be like, dude, look, you're going to have so much money in 10 years if you do this. That's not the right pitch on that. And I think Wayne has coached you in that direction. But in all reality, 65, get him his 15-year term. Let him do his fully underwritten. The guy makes 50 grand a month. You're not going to interest him with a $360 HMS 125 for $175,000 of death benefit at his age, whether it's a cashback or not. I think you're going to find a very unique situation in that one, where it's like, I met a guy, the policy's still freaking getting worked on, but it's $475 a month in premium. It's a fully underwritten. He's super healthy. But his family's needs were something else. You know, it's just, and that's kind of where you're at. Use this opportunity where you pitched a product that he immediately screenshots you something else. Basically, go forget the IUL, go get him the lowest cost $500,000 life insurance you can, put him into underwriting, get the commitment to buy, do the term life answers, drop ticket, get all the information. Then paramed people will call and get the rest of the health and medical they need, and then you're good to go.
Okay,
Good
thank you.
Absolutely. I don't know how long your team calls are on, Wayne, but I'm just talking.
We're gonna close it out. I'm gonna get one last question for you and then just have you close us out. If anybody has one last question before I let Spencer get back to his day. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Spencer,
Yeah.
when you first started, what was your lead strategy, and how were you attacking that? Obviously, with those dials and all that, but how were you strategizing your leads?
Dude, so check this out. This is going to scare you. I spent all my money. I worked at a dealership. I had contributed to the 401k. I think I cashed out my 401k. I paid over $1,000 in penalties to the IRS for early withdrawals out of a 401k. So I think I had like $5,800. I ended up with like $4,500 after that. From that moment forward, I spent over $2,000 a week on leads. And that was back when there was no internet leads. It was only direct mail drops and old inventory. And dude, I spent bread like I was made of it, and I wasn't, but I knew it's what my business needed to be able to get to where I wanted to go. When I was making When I was doing those months, I've got the screenshots on my phone, 60,000 issue paid. Back when I was doing it in 2018, that was unheard of numbers. Now we're getting people that are doing 100 grand a month like it's easy because they're leveraging things like Phone Burner. We've been able to train them faster because of the resources we have. Back then, that was all I did, dude. So in my heyday, I was spending about $2,800 a week on leads, direct mail, final expense mail, old inventory. Dude, spend all your money. I had somebody in my agency advise a downline. They said, hey, I got $2,500. I got this bill coming up, this and this. What would you advise? And their recommendation was I would recommend you spend less, but more consistently over a 3 or 4 week period. And I about threw my phone into a blender and I was so pissed because I was like, dude, you're telling them to stifle their opportunities. Like, dude, if you spend $2,500 right now and you have more leads than you can call in 2 or 3 days, forget everything on your agenda. Tell your wife, tell your girlfriend, like, don't talk to me. You're not going to get a response for like 6 days. Email me or write a letter, put it in the mailbox, and I'll get the mail on Sunday. And that's when I'll have time for it. Because you have to come through on your investment. So spend all your bread, dude. But it's like if you went to a casino, Jorge, and you put on red or black, but there was this third block, but it said you. Would you not gamble on you over red or black, where you know the house has a 50% chance of taking home the money, but then you're like, oh, what's this me option? I want that
100%.
one. You'd be like, oh, I put all my money on me just because it says me, just because it says you. It says my name on the roulette table. You're like, I'm in, let's go. So it's that, bro, spend as much money as you can. Because, dude, if it's the beginning of the month, you're like, oh, I got $1,800, but I need to make my rent is $1,800. You got 20 days to figure it out. 20 days? You tell me you can't go sell enough people to get your money back in 20 days? Come on. Wayne ain't teach you how to do that? I'll call BS right now. Wayne for sure has. So put all your bread in, dude. I had a guy on my team sold a dirt bike for $4,200. That next week he spent $2,000 on leads, made like 7,000 issue paid before the weekend. The next week again he spent $2,300 on leads. And after a 21-day period, it takes like 3 weeks for all that to really come to fruition. 21 days later, dude, highest issue paid number he ever did. And all he did was sell an asset that he had to leverage his business so it could grow. And now I promise you, I call him right now and be like, hey, what dirt bike you got what dirt bike you want? Guarantee you it's like a $12,000 dirt bike. He probably don't even want a dirt bike anymore. I bet you he'd probably like, yeah, I'm gonna get a Razor side by side. They're like 40 grand. You know what I mean? So, dude, spend your cash. It's just cash. It's a tool. Leverage it. It more will come. I promise. I've watched my dad be rich. I've watched my dad be poor. I've learned. Spend your money.
Man, I think you've given us a lot between binging the protein shake, we'll call it, as you like to say, and then just spend your bread. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's called currency, and if you take the C off, it's a current, and the current has to go out for it to come back. So you're not putting it out. I can tell you why it's not coming back the way you want it to.
Yeah.
But Spencer, any parting shots? One last final word to the group before we let you get back to your day.
Dude, I had an agent. He issue paid like a pretty embarrassing number last month. I call him. I go, "What's up, dude? What is this?" And he goes, "Dude, I just gotta work harder. I gotta work harder." And I go, "Hey, listen, man. This is gonna sound real condescending. Do you have to work harder, or do you have to work?" And he goes, "Shit, I just gotta work." I was like, "Exactly." So guys, my ending words, you guys just go to work. It's not hard. My very first job I ever had, I carried 55-pound bags of gravel up a 2-story ladder on the side of a building in Arizona in the summer to put gravel on the roof that all the Latinos were doing. I was the only white guy on the team. That's hard work. That's hard work. This work is not hard. You just gotta work. That's it.